Welcome to HD Coins World. If you're serious about finding hidden treasures in your pocket change, you do not want to miss a second of this video. Today, we're uncovering the shocking truth behind one of the most valuable and ultra-rare coins in US history, the 1965 quarter dollar. This isn't your average coin, folks. We're talking about a rare error that turned an ordinary quarter into a potential six-figure jackpot. Yes, one of these rare 1965 quarters has sold for a staggering $350,000 at auction, so grab your coins and pay very close attention. Because if you want to increase your knowledge about rare US coins and get expert tips on hunting these rare gems, make sure you watch till the end without skipping a second. And if you find this video helpful and packed with knowledge, give us a like and drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't worry, I'm here to help. Ask me anything about rare coins anytime. Let's dive in. At first glance, the 1965 quarter might look like just another coin, but collectors know to look deeper. Because 1965 was a year of massive change for US coinage. The mint stopped using 90% silver in quarters and switched to a clad composition, a copper core sandwiched between two nickel layers. But here's the twist. A few planchets made of 90% silver, left over from 1964, were accidentally struck with the 1965 date. That mistake is what turned an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime find. So how can you tell if you've got a rare 1965 quarter in your hands? Collectors focus on several critical features. Let's break them down. Weight is the first giveaway. A regular clad 1965 quarter weighs 5.67 grams, while a rare silver version weighs about 6.25 grams. That's a small difference, but it's enough to spot if you use a precise scale. Diameter should remain the same at 24.3 millimeters, but weight is where you'll find your first clue. Next up is the coin's edge. A clad quarter shows a copper-colored stripe along the edge. If your 1965 quarter has a clean, bright edge with no copper visible, that's a strong sign it could be silver. Condition also matters a lot. A coin in circulated condition with wear and scratches will still hold massive value if it's the rare silver strike. But if you find one in uncirculated condition, crisp, with sharp details and full luster, it could be worth a fortune. To maximize your chances of confirming a rare coin, have it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. A mint state silver 1965 quarter, professionally graded and verified, once fetched $350,000 at auction. Even circulated examples, those that have passed through many hands, have sold for anywhere between $10,000 and $67,000. Now imagine that. You're going through your change jar, and sitting there is a rare piece of history that could change your life. But you won't find it if you're not looking, and not learning. So what should you do? Check every 1965 quarter you find. Use a jewelry scale. Look at the edges. If something feels off, trust your gut and get it checked. It costs nothing to be curious, and it might just pay off in a big way. And remember, this coin is one of the greatest US coin errors of the 20th century, and it's still out there somewhere. Thanks a lot for watching, and welcome again to HD Coins World. If this video gave you new knowledge or helped fuel your passion for coin collecting, show your support with a like, drop your questions or finds in the comments, and make sure to subscribe so you never miss the next rare discovery. Keep hunting, stay sharp, and you might just be the next person to pull a fortune out of your pocket change. Number 2. Don't skip a second, because the coin we're revealing today could be worth thousands, and it might be sitting in your pocket right now. We're talking about the 1971 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that's gaining value every day. Experts are watching this coin closely, and some believe it's on track to become one of the biggest success stories in the rare coin world. At first glance, it looks like any other quarter, but that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Because a tiny number of these coins were struck with rare minting errors, and they've sold at auction for life-changing prices. So how do you know if your 1971 quarter is one of the valuable ones? Let's break it down. First, let's talk about the standard features. A normal 1971 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. It's made of copper nickel, with a solid copper core. It measures 24.26 millimeters in diameter and has a reeded edge. those tiny vertical lines around the rim. But here's where things get exciting. Some 1971 D quarters have been found struck on silver planchets that were never meant to be used after 1964. That means if your quarter weighs around 6.25 grams, it could be one of the ultra-rare transitional errors that collectors dream about. Next, check the edge of the coin. A regular quarter will show a copper stripe along the edge. If yours doesn't, if the edge is a smooth silver color all the way around, that's a big clue you might have something special. And remember, weight and appearance are just part of the story. The condition of the coin is everything. If your 1971 D quarter is still bright, shows sharp details in George Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers, and has minimal scratches or wear, you could be holding a coin in mint state condition. That's when values skyrocket. So how do collectors confirm it's rare? They send it in for grading with PCGS or NGC, two of the top coin certification companies. These professionals will test the metal, confirm the weight, evaluate the condition, and give it a grade from 1 to 70. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Now for the numbers you've been waiting for. A rare 1971 D quarter with unusual weight or silver content, graded and verified in mint condition, has sold for over $110,000 at public auction. Yes, more than 100 grand for a quarter. Even circulated examples with verified errors have sold for $12,000 to $60,000, depending on the grade and rarity of the strike, and the experts say, this coin's value is still climbing. As more collectors discover the story behind the 1971 D, demand is rising, and so are prices. So don't ignore the change in your drawer. Check your 1971 D quarters carefully. Use a scale, examine the edge, and look for that sharp detail. You might be sitting on a rare piece of American history, and not even know it. If this video gave you new knowledge or sparked your curiosity, hit that like button, drop a comment with your coin hunting stories, and subscribe to HD Coins World for more incredible discoveries and expert tips. Thanks a lot for watching. Keep hunting, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a simple coin. See you in the next one. Right here on HD Coins World. Number 3. Get ready. Because what you're about to learn could change the way you look at your pocket change forever. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most iconic coins in American history, the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial Washington quarter dollar. It was minted to celebrate the 200th anniversary of American independence. And while it was produced in large numbers, some rare versions of this coin have shocked collectors and sold for tens of thousands of dollars. You heard that right. Some of these quarters are worth far more than 25 cents. And the best part? They might still be hiding in circulation, tucked away in a drawer, or sitting quietly in your coin jar. So let's talk about the features collectors look for when they search for valuable 1776 to 1976 quarters. First, let's talk weight and composition. There are two main types of bicentennial quarters. 1. Copper nickel-clad quarters, which are standard and make up most of what you'll find in circulation. These weigh around 5.67 grams. 2. 40% silver quarters, which were never released for general circulation but were included in special collector sets. These weigh slightly more, about 5.75 grams, and that weight difference can be a major clue. If you have a precision scale, weigh your bicentennial quarter. If it comes in closer to 5.75 grams, especially without signs of copper on the coin's edge, you might be holding a silver version, and that's where things start getting valuable. Next, check the edge. Regular copper nickel coins will show a copper stripe on the edge, but a true silver quarter? The edge will be solid silver all the way around. That's a red flag for collectors, in a good way. Now, let's talk design. The front shows the familiar portrait of George Washington. But flip it over, and instead of the usual eagle, you'll see a special design featuring a colonial drummer and a torch of victory. This design was created just for the bicentennial release, and it instantly makes the coin stand out. But what really determines value is condition. If your quarter has sharp details, like fine lines in Washington's hair, or strong, clear features on the drummer's uniform, it may be in uncirculated condition, also called mint state. Coins like that are graded from MS60 to MS70. The closer you get to MS70, the more valuable the coin becomes. Now here's where it gets really exciting. Some ultra-rare silver bicentennial quarters, in certified mint state condition, have sold at auction for over $90,000. That's right, $90,000 for a quarter. Even well-preserved circulated examples, especially those with minting errors, silver content, or high grades, have sold between $10,000 and $90,000 depending on rarity and market demand. So, how can you find out if your bicentennial quarter is one of the valuable ones? Simple. First, weigh it. Then inspect the edge for copper or silver. Finally, check the overall condition. If it looks like it's never been used, you may want to send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll evaluate the metal content, grade the condition, and confirm if you're holding a coin worth more than most people imagine. And don't forget, some of the most valuable bicentennial quarters weren't just silver. They also had striking errors like off-center prints, double dies, or coins struck on the wrong planchet. Those types can send values soaring even higher. So the next time you come across a 1776 to 1976 quarter, take a closer look. You might be holding a tiny piece of American history, worth thousands. If this video opened your eyes to something new, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to HD Coins World, and drop a comment below with your best coin find. We love hearing your stories. And who knows, maybe your coin could be the next one we feature. Thanks a lot for watching. Keep searching, stay sharp, and remember, even the most ordinary coin can turn into an extraordinary treasure. See you next time, right here on HD Coins World. Number 4. Let's unlock the story of a coin you might have held without even realizing its true value. The 1991 D Washington quarter. That little piece of metal could be far more than just 25 cents. In fact, it might be a rare numismatic gem that collectors are willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars for. The D mintmark tells us this coin was struck in Denver. And while hundreds of millions of 1991 D quarters were produced, only a tiny fraction stand out from the rest. What transforms an ordinary quarter into an ultra-rare, highly valuable collector's prize? It all comes down to condition, mint errors, and precise details that expert eyes never miss. Let's start with the foundation. Physical specs. A standard Washington quarter from 1991 should weigh exactly 5.67 grams. Its diameter? A perfect 24.26 millimeters. That consistency is key, but so is the way each coin was struck and preserved. Collectors are laser-focused on coins that remain in pristine condition. The highest valued examples are those that have never been circulated. That means no pocket wear, no surface scratches, and no loss of mint luster. These uncirculated coins are like time capsules, flawless snapshots of minting perfection. When a collector or dealer believes a quarter could be valuable, it's usually sent to a professional grading service, like PCGS or NGC. These companies use the Sheldon scale to score coins from 1 to 70. A grade of MS60 or higher means mint state. But once you climb to MS66, MS67, or beyond, the coin enters a level of quality where only a few survive. That's where the value explodes. Now, let's dive into the features collectors are searching for when hunting rare 1991 D quarters. One of the biggest is doubling. Take a magnifying glass and study the inscriptions. Liberty, in God we trust. And the date. 1991. If you spot any duplicated lines or shadows in the letters, you could be looking at a doubled die, an error that occurs during the minting process. These coins are rare and highly prized, especially if the doubling is strong and easily visible. Another hot target is off-center strikes. If the design is visibly shifted, let's say 10 to 20% off the center, and the date is still fully visible, you might have a valuable error on your hands. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more desirable the coin. Next up, die cracks. These look like raised lines that run across the surface of the coin, sometimes resembling tiny lightning bolts. They happen when the minting die begins to fracture. Some collectors absolutely love these imperfections. They give the coin character and rarity. There's also the possibility of a struck-through error. That's when something like grease, cloth, or even metal shavings get between the die and the blank coin during striking. The result is a ghostly or distorted area on the coin, completely unique and often very valuable, and don't forget wrong planchet errors. If a 1991 D-quarter was accidentally struck on a smaller coin blank, like a dime or foreign coin, you've got an instant rarity. These mistakes are usually caught at the mint, but every so often, one escapes into circulation. So, how do you know if your 1991 D-quarter is worth something? First, check the weight. Use a precise digital scale. If it's way off from 5.67 grams, that's a sign it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. Then, examine the design for doubling, cracks, or striking shifts. And of course, if the coin has a brilliant luster and no signs of wear, it might be uncirculated. At this point, it's time to send it in for grading. A coin that receives a top-tier mint state grade could be your golden ticket. And now for the part everyone's been waiting for, the auction prices. A rare 1991 D-quarter in circulated condition, with clear errors or striking uniqueness, has fetched between $2,300 and $24,000 at major auctions. But the real showstopper? An ultra-rare, uncirculated 1991 D Washington quarter, graded at the highest mint state level and featuring an exceptional mint error, brought in a stunning $40,000 at public auction. That's right, $40,000 for a single quarter. So the next time you come across some loose change, don't just spend it. Examine it. Weigh it. Study it under the light. You could be holding a piece of American history worth far more than 25 cents. If you think you've found a rare coin, or you have a 1991 D-quarter with unusual features, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your story and help you find out if you've got a treasure on your hands. Number 5. Let's talk about a coin that might just be hiding in your change, quiet, unassuming, and yet potentially worth thousands. The 1982 D Washington quarter. At first glance, it's just another coin from the early 80s. But if you know what to look for, this quarter can become a serious payday. In 1982, the US Mint did something unusual. They didn't produce any official mint sets for collectors. That meant every single quarter struck in 1982 was released straight into circulation. And that's where the story of rarity begins. Most of these coins were spent, scratched, and worn down through decades of use. So if you happen to find a 1982 D Washington quarter in excellent condition, you're looking at something very few people have ever seen, an original survivor. Now let's get into the details collectors focus on. Because they're not just hunting any old quarter. Start with the basics. The weight should be exactly 5.67 grams. That tells you it was struck on the correct copper-nickel clad planchet. But if your quarter feels light or heavy, it might have been struck on the wrong planchet, maybe a dime, or even a foreign coin blank. That's an immediate red flag for collectors. In the best way possible, the diameter is another clue. It should measure 24.3 millimeters across. Get a caliper and measure it. If it's smaller or larger, that's another sign of a striking error, and those bring big value when verified. Now, let's talk condition. This is everything. If your coin is worn and has visible scratches or discoloration, it's considered circulated. Still, some of these have been known to sell for strong money when they have errors or I appeal. But a coin that looks like it just came from the mint? Bright luster, sharp details, and no wear under magnification? That's a different level. Grading services like PCGS and NGC will evaluate your coin under high-powered lenses. They're looking for things like strike quality, luster, contact marks, and overall eye appeal. A grade like MS65 or MS67 means you've got something very special, because quarters from 1982 that haven't been beat up by circulation are practically non-existent. Now here's where the magic happens. Errors. Collectors go wild for certain types of mistakes. Like a no mint mark error, which is rare but possible if the D from Denver wasn't punched properly or was filled with grease. If you've got one of these, it's instantly more valuable, or doubling. Check the words. In God we trust. And Liberty. If the letters appear thick or shadowed, it could be a double die. These are tough to spot with the naked eye but can multiply your coin's value dramatically. Another favorite? Off-center strikes. If part of the design is missing, and the coin looks oddly shifted, but the date is still visible, that's an error collectors love. And the more dramatic the shift, the rarer it gets. Also look for die cracks, thin, raised lines across the surface. These happen when the die begins to break during the minting process. Some die cracks form dramatic patterns and make the coin one of a kind, and here's a secret: not all 1982 D quarters were made the same. Some have a slightly stronger strike or better metal mix, giving them a mirror-like surface. These early strikes can fetch higher premiums, especially in uncirculated condition. So let's say you found a 1982 D quarter that looks incredible. You send it to PCGS, and they grade it mint state 67. You might expect a nice return, but what actually happens at auction will blow your mind. A pristine 1982 D Washington quarter in uncirculated MS67 condition has sold for a jaw-dropping $37,000. Yes, you heard that right. $37,000 for a coin most people wouldn't even glance at, even in circulated condition. Some rare examples with dramatic errors or just beautiful natural toning have sold for $6,200 or more, depending on the rarity and visual appeal. So next time you see a 1982 D quarter in your change, don't toss it aside. Examine it closely. Check the details. Feel the weight. Because that little coin could be hiding a very big surprise. And if you think you found something rare, tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear your story, and maybe help you figure out if you're holding the next record-breaking coin. Number 6. Let's talk about a coin that might be hiding right in your pocket change, the 1995 P Washington quarter. At first glance, it may seem like any ordinary coin. But under the surface, some of these quarters are true treasures, ultra-rare varieties that collectors are hunting for across the country. If you've got one in pristine shape, or with just the right kind of error, you could be looking at a serious payout. Now, let's dig into what makes the 1995 P quarter so special. This quarter was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, as indicated by the small P mark on the front, just next to Washington's ponytail. Over 1.1 billion of these were produced. Yes, billion with a B. So you might be wondering, how can a coin with such a high mintage be worth thousands of dollars? The answer lies in the details. And the condition. Collectors watch for several specific features when examining a Washington quarter. First, let's start with the basics. The standard weight of a 1995 P quarter is 5.67 grams. Its diameter is 24.26 millimeters. But even if your coin matches those stats, that's just the beginning. What really matters is how that coin was struck, how it has been preserved, and whether it includes any of the rare mint errors that make collectors' hearts race. Now let's talk about condition. A circulated coin, that is, one that's been used in everyday transactions, will show signs of wear, smooth edges, scratches, and dulled luster. These coins still hold value, especially if they feature unique errors, but the highest premiums are reserved for uncirculated examples. When a coin is uncirculated, it means it has never been used in commerce. The surfaces remain clean, the details are sharp, and the luster, that original mint luster, shines under the light like a polished mirror. To determine how well preserved your coin is, you need a professional grading service. Grading companies like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, grade coins using the Sheldon scale, which ranges from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS60 is uncirculated, but once you hit MS67, MS68, or even higher, you're entering elite territory. The highest known grades command the biggest prices at auction, but here's where it gets exciting: rare errors and varieties. For the 1995 P Washington quarter, there are a few key things collectors keep an eye out for. Look closely at the lettering, especially the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust. If you spot any doubling of the letters, you might have a doubled die. These types of errors happen when the die imprints the design more than once, slightly offset. If you've got a coin with bold, visible doubling, congratulations, that's a rarity worth checking. Another feature to look for? Off-center strikes. If the design is noticeably shifted to one side and the date is still visible, that's a major error. Coins struck 10 to 15% off-center are already valuable, but the more dramatic the error, the more collectors are willing to pay. Don't forget die cracks and cuds. These are raised lines or blobs on the coin's surface that result from broken or worn dies. They may look like small flaws, but in the coin world, they make all the difference. You might also encounter a coin struck on the wrong planchet, like one meant for a penny or dime. These are exceedingly rare and fetch top dollar at auctions. Now let's talk numbers. The kind that make collectors' jaws drop. A circulated 1995 P quarter with a significant error or variety has sold at auction for between $2,300 and $24,000, depending on condition and certification. That's a massive leap from pocket change, but the real shocker? An uncirculated 1995 P Washington quarter, graded in superb mint state and featuring a striking mint error, brought in a jaw-dropping $48,000 at auction. That's right, $48,000 for a single quarter. So, the next time you're sorting your change or checking that coin jar on the shelf, take a closer look. Flip that 1995 quarter over, grab a magnifying glass, and inspect every detail. You never know, you just might be holding a rare piece of American coin history. If you have one or think you've found a rare coin, drop a comment below and tell us about it. We'd love to help you figure out if your quarter could be a jackpot. Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, happy hunting from HD Coins World.